15 years, Belle has worked with people and their experiences. She's a leading art therapist, currently in her private practice, Ignite Art Therapies. She dreams we all have a space to explore our lives, that we only carry the things that serve us, and we find ways to break through the barriers to success, abundance, confidence, and freedom, and become the person we want to be. She truly believes we all need a space to be real. The reflection today will give insight into the impact of our supportive actions and ponder whether our own behaviours are helpful or not. Here's Belle.
A few weeks ago, I went to the doctor's for a blood test, and as I sat in the waiting room, there was a young couple in the waiting room with their toddler who was about 18 months old. And obviously they were trying to entertain their child while we all waited for the doctor who was running late. And on the toy, which was a plane, there was a button. But that button wasn't the only button that got pushed at that moment. See, as they pushed the button, it made the sound of a jet taking off. And it got louder and louder and louder, and they kept pushing it, kept pushing it, kept pushing it, and inside my brain, it was 1,000 times louder than what that toy actually was. And it was like, bang, the bomb had gone off. And as I sat there, I tried to breathe through it. I was like, come on, Belle, it's okay, we can do this. It's all going to be fine. But by the time I got into the doctor, she asked me how I was, and I had crashed and burned. So this wasn't just an annoying toy to me. This was my post-traumatic stress being triggered. And I went into that doctor to get a blood test to test my iron, and I walked out with a mental health care plan. Because a couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to actively help one of my clients who wanted to end their life. I'm not going to tell that story today because that's hers to tell. But alongside that, I've had to work really hard on looking after myself and taking care of me so that I can help others, even when the workaholic comes out to play. So just imagine you're holding on to this thing that really debilitates you daily, sometimes, other times it's fine. And you want to keep it to yourself to save face. You know, I'm a therapist, I help people. What would they know? What would they think if they knew that I was experiencing this? Or I don't want to be seen as not coping. Or, you know, wanting to be a burden to other people. And then I want you to imagine the relief when you finally tell someone that the doctor happened to be the right person on the right day, to share the story, to have it out there for the truth to be told. And then decide to share it with other people that you might be struggling at the time. But some of the things that they say and do have you feeling like you wish that you could just go back to pretending it was all okay. And you feel more isolated and alone than ever. Now these are well-caring people, people who want to help and say things and do things out of love and out of care. So I have a friend who is one of the most generous, kind people I know. And she was having a party around this time. And we were talking a couple of days. She's really excited about it. You know, she's one of those people who really enjoys a big bash and it's all going to be great. So she said to me, "How are you?" I said, and she knows the circumstances around the incident. And I said, "Oh, you know, my post-traumatic stress is really playing up at the moment. Sound is really hard to manage, but I'm really excited about your birthday and I'll see if I can make it and see if I can sit through. If not, I'll just go outside for some fresh air." And she goes, oh, that's not good. But remember, my birthday's about being happy and enjoying it, and it's a great celebration. Can you please, just come along and have fun, and it'll be great for you. Okay, why didn't I think of that? Because it's not that easy just to push the reset button. And I wish I could bring my brain and say, hello, brain. You know how you're really scattery at the moment and you feel like you're in 1,000 pieces and you really can't connect to anything and everything feels really foggy? Well, I've got this party on Saturday. And I'm just wondering whether you could put yourself together, that we could, so we can go and enjoy it and be happy. If you could get that done by midnight on Friday night, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Anyone who's experienced distress or overwhelm knows that you can't just switch it off like that. I wish you could bring your brain. I really wish you could. And what I've done is observe people around me when we have this conversation around how I'm really doing. And what I've noticed is that there's many discounts. And I'm not talking about the ones at the shop. I'm talking about people dismissing what you're saying. Oh, it'll be okay, you'll get through it. Or, I know how you feel. Interesting that you would know how I actually feel. But one of the ones that we do to ourselves as well is that there's other people worse off. Now, I'd like you to give me the answer to the fact of when I'm 6 years old and sitting at the kitchen table and don't want to eat my peas, how that's relevant to children in Africa. Yes, that's going on. But what we do is we discount our own experiences, our own distress. In my counselling rooms, I hear horrific stories sometimes, and then they come out with but I guess there's people worse off. That's not relevant to now, because your experience is important. And what you're feeling and experiencing is valuable. Let's work through it, not discount it. It's also about the amount of people who tell you how to be. Be happy, be thankful, be grateful, be strong. I don't even know what that means. Because when I've been trying to climb the mountain and it's bloody hard work and I'm hanging on the edge and someone says be strong, I'm like, so just exert like the rest of my soul here to be strong. Some of the biggest strengths that I've ever witnessed in people and know for myself is to let go and surrender. To be vulnerable. That's strength. Not trying to hold it all together. Because as ladies have alluded to, it comes back in different ways. One of the things that I've had lots of people say to me, and it reminds me of netball, here if you need. Here if you need. So, okay. Thanks, wing attack. When people are feeling like their biggest achievement for the day is to get out of bed, they're not going to ring somebody to ask for help. This is where we as caring people can ask them what they need and show up and be there. The other thing is, it amazes me how many people, what happens when somebody cries? Let's fix it, let's hug you, let's make it better, let's fluff around with the tissues. Let's make it about us. The person who cries needs to cry. They need their story told, and they need to speak it. Caring for someone and genuinely being there is not a competition. It's not about having the best story, the one-upmanship, the I've got something better. It's about being present to what's happening right now. And the universe. Don't we love the universe? Yes, everything that we do shapes who we are. But to tell someone that things happen for a reason, when they're in complete distress and their whole world has just been shattered, it's really offensive. They will discover the reason themselves. That we sometimes want to feel silence, that we want to make it better, we want to fix it. But the thing that we can do is be present and listen and help them tell their story and be heard. One of the ones that I remember when my dad died when I was 12 was people saying he went to a better place. I was like, that's great. He just saw me start high school. That's fantastic, because the better place for me was right here with me. To see me finish school, to see me have shocking relationships, to see me potentially get married, to know what my career was. The best place was with me. Somehow people thought they needed to comfort me, and that was reassuring, but it was anything but. And I know that people say these things and do these things, and let's face it, I'm talking about this, but I actually do it myself. I want to stab myself every time I do it. But it is that thing of, are we caring? Because sometimes we've got to shut up and be there, not be at. And for me, even though, excuse me while I just pull my pants up, even though I feel like my brain is sometimes underwater, or it's been shot 1,000 times and there's holes in it, it's heavy and it feels like I will never come up to breathe, and it's tangled at times, that light will come back on. And it takes a fair bit of work. But what I've realised is it's not actually from my family who tell me that they're tired too, or my colleagues who roll their eyes when the story is mentioned, or friends who change the subject because it's too difficult to deal with. It's with someone who's unconditional. And for me, that's a therapist. So I'm back in therapy so that I can be the best therapist as well, and really have someone to show me, help me find the map that I need. Yes, we might get lost, but we'll get there. And it will take time. And this may be turned over 1,000 times. But our experiences and having a space where we can tell our story is something so precious, so that we can heal and move forward with our life rather than feeling discounted all the time. Because, and I had to do it when I put a slide up yesterday, because like sands through the hourglass, these are the days of our lives.